I want to become a pilot. Where do I start? That question is such a great question. It is easy to think that you want to become a pilot. It is easy to dream about an office in the sky. It can be wonderful to sit in a cubicle and daydream of what you really would like to do is fly for a living. But you're not going to get there unless you actually start making some moves. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Where to start if you want to become a pilot. Pilots and aviation lovers, and welcome to the channel that brings you aviation information, motivation, and inspiration. And today we are talking about what to do if you want to become a pilot, the very first step. Up front, I want to let you know that becoming a pilot is going to take a lot of time and an equal amount, or maybe even more, money. And of course, this is not a surprise to you, but I would just want to make sure that you know that it's quite a big of a time and financial investment and commitment that you're making if you do want to become a pilot. Now, since you already know that, do you actually know what type of pilot you want to become? Do you want to be an airline pilot like myself? I am now a regional airline pilot. Or do you want to become, for example, a corporate pilot? Do you want to fly packages? Do you want to be a freight dog? Or is maybe a career flight instructor what you want to be? Or do you want to be an air show flyer? Or are you the one that just wants to be that weekend warrior to go out on the weekends to go get that $100 hamburger and fly just for fun? If you want to become an airline pilot, then you'll have to get the certificates up to the ATP certificate. If you are aiming for corporate flying, then you can have a commercial certificate and that would be enough. If you want to become a flight instructor, then you also need to do your certified flight instructor FAA check ride on top of having your commercial certificate. And now if you only want to fly for fun, you will have enough on your private pilot certificate, but I would always recommend to get that instrument rating so that you can expand the range of weather conditions that you can fly in. No matter what type of pilot you want to become, we all have to start somewhere, and that start is going to be the discovery flight. The discovery flight is an introductory flight in which you'll experience what it will be like to get flight training. A CFI, Certified Flight Instructor, will take you up for likely an hour, maybe half an hour, and most flight schools offer this flight at a discount. For most, it will be the first experience in a smaller trainer, and it'll likely be your first experience being on the controls once you're in the air. The instructor will do the takeoff and the landing most likely. I would recommend to look up some flight schools in your area and see if they are offering a discovery flight. When you do go on the discovery flight, make sure that you take this opportunity to ask all the questions that you have with your flight instructor. For example, you can ask what the flight instructor availability is, how often you would like to train, and if it's possible with the amount of instructors that there is, are you going to actually be flying with the same instructor that is taking you up in that discovery flight? Also, take a look around at the flight school, make sure that the maintenance status of the airplanes is up to par, and make sure that the airplane that you're flying is the one that you would like to be training in. Don't limit yourself to doing just one discovery flight with one specific school. Just go to a few if you have the luxury of having more flight schools in your area, and try to do discovery flights in different aircraft as well. Take a Cessna 172 or a 150 high wing, and maybe do a Piper low wing as well, just to see what you would be most comfortable with. The cost of a discovery flight will vary anywhere between like $100 and probably at most $300, maybe $350 for an hour flight. And this depends on what type of aircraft you'll be flying. It will be a lot cheaper when you do a discovery flight and also subsequently your flight training in a Cessna 150 as opposed to doing that in a Cirrus SR-22. Once you've completed your discovery flight and assuming that you loved it, it is time to decide what type of flight training you actually want to get. Do you want to do a flight training academy and get through as quickly as possible and doing your flight training full time? Or do you want to or need to do your flight training part-time because, for example, you need to still work your day job in order to be able to pay for the flight training? That was what was happening in my case. For those of you that want to become airline pilots, keep in mind that seniority is everything in the airlines. So if you can go through your flight training as quickly as possible, then that would be very beneficial for your career. In that case, I would suggest that if you do have the time and the resources to fly full-time, to do that and get to where you want to go as quickly as possible. If you have to do your flight training part-time because there's just no other way, then I would recommend to try and fly twice a week. Consistency is very important during flight training, and it would be good for you to keep that muscle memory going as opposed to flying once every 2 weeks, for example. In making the decision to go part-time or full-time, you're also making the decision if you are going to go Part 61 or Part 141. These two terms refers to the federal aviation regulations in which this flight school and the flight training is being conducted. In short, a Part 141 school has an FAA approved curriculum that you need to follow to a T, and it has a certain way of going through the flight training that they cannot deviate from. A Part 61 school has a lot more flexibility and the curriculum is not set. Meaning that in a Part 141 school, you're probably going to go through a flight academy and it's probably going to be full-time, as opposed to the flexibility of a Part 61 school that will allow you to do it part-time more easily. Other options for flight training would be to go to the military route or to maybe go to a college that also has an aviation program. Now, it is not necessary for pilots to have a college degree, but if you do want to go to the airline route, most major airlines do appreciate a 4-year degree, and having a degree would be really good for you in the interview process. So there you have it. If you're thinking about becoming a pilot or you just want to see what it's like to be on the controls of an airplane, get yourself a discovery flight with a CFI and see what it's like.
Aviation offers a lot of career options. You can become a private pilot that flies a lot of different people from place to place, or as a private pilot, you can also become a flight instructor and teach others how to fly. If you get your commercial license, you're able to fly for an airline. But as the previous video explained, you will have additional requirements for airline employment, and the training period is significantly longer. For example, you need to have 1,500 hours of flight time logged in order to become an airline pilot, where a private pilot only needs 40 flight hours to get their license. Now, salaries vary depending upon the position you select also. A private pilot's usual salary is somewhere around $42,000 a year. Flight instructors make between $30,000 and $60,000 annually, depending upon their experience and expertise. Salaries vary among airlines based on the type of aircraft and flight routes you're assigned. Seniority is also a big factor since a pilot's credentials, experience, and job title all affect their earning potential. Commercial airline pilots working for large companies like Delta or American can make between $175,000 and $300,000 a year. Now, pilots are paid by the hour unless they're corporate pilots that fly for various businesses. The downside for this group of pilots is that they are usually on call and must be available whenever the company needs them. Now, please know, flying lessons are expensive. It costs between $155 to $170 per hour to fly, and you will need a minimum of 40 hours flight time just to be a private pilot. That usually takes about 3 months. You will have another 40 hours of ground school to complete your education, and the overall cost will be between $7,000 and $12,000, depending on the license that you're seeking. Now, we're very lucky to have several flight school options here locally, and some of your ground education can be done at some of the trade schools that we've previously talked about. So now let's take a look at what training flight looks like at an ATP flight school.
Thank you for your interest in conducting an introductory flight lesson with ATP, the most respected name in pilot certification. This online training module is designed to provide a basic understanding of the components and control functions of an airplane and will give you an idea of what to expect during your introductory training flight. From over 40 locations nationwide, ATP's professional flight instructors help more pilots achieve their pilot certification and career goals than any other flight school in the nation. As an ATP student, you will gain access to more aircraft, locations, and job placements than any flight school, academy, or aviation university can offer. With the highest ratio of airline placements to students of any flight school, ATP is your airline career solution from zero time to airline pilot in just 2 years. Proven by thousands of graduates now flying for regional and major airlines. For over 30 years, ATP has specialized in professional airline-oriented flight training. We are well known for providing structured and disciplined training similar to that of the airlines and the military, meaning you can count on receiving training that ensures the highest levels of safety and proficiency in the industry. Learning to fly isn't as difficult as you may think. The professionals at ATP make earning your pilot certificate and starting your career as a professional pilot a rewarding, seamless adventure. Your introductory flight lesson is the first step towards reaching your goals. It will provide you with the opportunity to experience the joys of flying from behind the controls and see a level of professional flight training at ATP firsthand. When you arrive at the training center for your introductory flight, your flight instructor will greet you and provide you with a tour of the facilities and an overview of the planned flight. This briefing will take about a half an hour and will give you the opportunity to become acquainted with your instructor, the training center, and the aircraft. Feel free to ask any questions you have during the briefing. If you have something specific you would like to see or do during your flight, be sure to let your instructor know, and he or she will make every effort to accommodate. For introductory flight lessons, ATP uses two types of aircraft, the Cessna 172 and the Piper Archer. Both of these larger four-passenger airplanes have the same basic components and capabilities and are renowned for their safety and reliability as training platforms. Compared to smaller two-passenger aircraft, you'll find that training in these larger four-seat airplanes is more stable and comfortable. When it's time to go flying, you and your instructor will conduct a pre-flight inspection of the airplane. This pre-flight inspection is how the pilot checks the airplane's condition prior to flight and verifies the proper fuel and fluid levels are on board before departing. This is also a chance for you to become familiar with some of the major components of the airplane. As you walk around the airplane, your instructor will provide an overview of its primary components. Before you take off, your instructor will pull off the taxiway into a safe area and conduct what's called a run-up, which is a way to check the engine and other systems prior to departure. You will notice your instructor referring to a checklist during various phases of the flight. A pilot uses a checklist as an additional safety measure to verify that the work a pilot must accomplish during each part of the flight is done in a timely manner. Once the run-up and checklists are complete, you'll take to the sky for the first time behind the controls. Once you're airborne, you'll enjoy being able to see familiar landmarks and geography from a new perspective. You may be able to spot your house or workplace. Throughout the flight, your instructor will explain what's happening and give you a chance to operate controls. Flying the airplane isn't as difficult as you may think. An airplane is designed to fly. It wants to fly. The pilot is responsible for configuring the plane to what it wants to do naturally. Once you're airborne, the pilot controls the airplane's direction and altitude and manages its systems for optimal performance.
So just like all careers, aviation has all kinds of operational paths such as maintenance, engineering, dispatch and scheduling, ground operations, sales and accounting, and even manufacturing. And one of the benefits of an aviation career is the opportunity to travel. If that is where your interest lies, then this is the profession for you.